What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Spencer. Taking a look at this Invoked Dogmatika Shaddoll, but it's really just without the Invoked. The normal summon Alistair package has been replaced with Formud Skipper, and I do think it ends up working out just a little bit better. It's a little bit more consistent, and it really kind of accomplishes the same thing. So, 3 copies of Parallel Exceed. This is a card that is searchable through Formud Skipper. If you haven't seen it, I'll link it in the description and probably the comment section. My first video showcasing really what this deck does. But obviously this helps you go into Heatsoul, draw cards, and just out advantage your opponent. And that's kind of the whole idea. The Dogmatika stuff. So Fleur, the Iris Sword Soul. A lot of the times you can send Lulu Walleth to the graveyard off of your ritual spell. And that can help bring this out from the deck. You don't have to play this, but I do think it's a pretty cool tech card. Maximus, no surprises there. And then 3 copies of the Virtuous. 1 copy of Rykart. So this is part of the Formud Skipper normal summon engine. Basically gives you Heatsoul and a rank 4. Whatever rank 4 you want to go into. Your 9 hand traps, I feel like that's kind of standard. Astral and Effect Failure. Now I do run them from the hand because you are drawing off of Heatsoul. And if you draw a hand trap off the top, you don't want it to be imperm because then you can't use it, right? You want to be able to use these hand traps off the top that you can use, and this is just like, Effect Failure is one of the generic ones. These two kind of make more sense, obviously. Okay, Formud Skipper. This is like what the whole deck is based around. And then this is the Ritual Dogmatika, of course. Alba Zoa. Force your opponent to get rid of half their extra deck. Another reason why I like this over the Alistair the Invoker engine is because when you do the Formud Skipper line, you get to go into Abyss Dweller plus Heatsoul. One of the only things that beats you is if your opponent has a good extra deck. Like, if your opponent has an extra deck that they don't have the ability to play around, this card can win you the duel automatically. Like, if your opponent just has to get rid of half of their resources, they kind of just can't play. Because you're going to be ripping another one out. You're going to be going into Winda. So if your opponent is playing something like Fallen of Albaz, Labyrinth obviously would be one of those, Flew Under Ease, where they do have these good graveyard effects. You do have Abyss Dweller, so none of those effects are going to go off your opponent, even if they are playing these extra decks that are based around getting advantage from sending cards to the graveyard. Like, they won't be able to. And all of that is possible through Formud Skipper, which I really like. It just feels like it replaces that really big weakness and one of the only reasons why you ever lose when Alba Zoa goes off. Now to your Servant. Of course, this card is very good. Piri Resmap. I feel like you could play probably like Small World maybe, and that's probably just something a little bit better to get off the top of Heatsoul, but Piri Resmap does search it. It also searches all of your hand traps technically, but you can't use them really. So it's kind of weird, but you do want to see Formud Skipper as much as humanly possible. This is Scareclaw Arrival. This is just part of your little Scareclaw engine terraforming. A lot of the times I can search your Secret Villages spellcasters. It can also go for Reichphobia. Call by the Grave, definitely searching a lot in this deck. Duality, so this can help you switch out your Maximus. This can also search out the Iris Sword Soul. This can switch out with Dogmatika Fleur. And Fleur is not bad because if you do rip it off the top with Heatsoul, if you can use this to negate, that's great. If you can't, though, you can still bring it out, right? You have Heatsoul, and then you can just special summon it during your opponent's turn and then go into Duality, which helps you go into Dragoon, which is a really good Omni negate that this kind of deck has really been missing. This is the continuous spell, Dogmatika Matrix. I talked about Reichphobia. Secret Village spellcasters can just win you duels straight up by itself. When I went to YCS LA, this won me a duel against a Runic player, obviously, as you might imagine. Dogmatika Calamity is very good, and then Shaddoll Schism. Going on to the extra deck, I've been talking about Dragoon. It's still a good card, and you get a lot of advantage through Heatsoul, so you never have to really worry about the discard fodder. Titanclad is something that's just good to send to the graveyard. App Cologne and Shaddoll Winda, obviously those 2 are a package. 1 copy of Elder Entity Nis, something you always want to send to the graveyard. Talk about Lulu Walleth, so truly incredible. One of the things, when I played this deck forever, I was like, oh, if Dogmatika Calamity had something good to send to the graveyard instead of just 5-headed dragon for this, the deck would be very good. And then here we are. Lulu Walleth exists now, and it's very good. When Pegasus Agnister, I can't praise this card enough. It's won me so many duels. It's something your opponent does not ever think about after it's sent to the graveyard because there's so much going on by sending so many things to the graveyard at once. And yeah, this card's amazing. Herald of the Arclight. This is just to get the ritual engine going. Heatsoul, I've been talking about. Brute Enforcer. You can play any generic Cyberse Link 2, but You kind of have, like, the whole idea is with Parallel Exceed, like, you want to go into Heatsoul, and this, like, you know, Heatsoul requires 2 Cybers monsters. So you're going to use this and one of your Parallel Exceed to go into it. And this is just, like, a decent, like, one, basically. Is kind of there's a few other ones that you can use, but this is just the one that I do. IP Masquerade. If you actually use Piri Res Map, and this is, like, one of the best applications of it, and you go through your line, you'll pay 1,000 for each soul to draw during your turn, and then during your opponent's turn, their draw phase, you'll draw another card, and that actually will put you at 2,000 life points, which is really, really interesting. So you can switch out your Heatsoul for an IP Masquerade, and that's another interruption in the form of Nightmare Unicorn. And that's kind of unique and cool. It's like one of the best applications I've ever seen for Heatsoul. It like really works out. Lightheart is part of the Formud Skipper stuff. Salmagate Almirage, if you need a normal summon your hand traps and you have Parallel in your hand. I guess you could take it out, but it's definitely a line that I like to have available to me. Nightmare Unicorn and then Abyss Dweller. And the side deck doesn't really matter. I wouldn't really worry too much about it. You know, make your own side deck. It's always different. It's always weird to give side deck advice. But yeah, that is the deck profile for Formud Skipper Dogmatika. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section down below. Other than that, that's going to do it for today's video. And I'll see you guys next time.